Me neither, I said flatly. Xiao Xin blushed and said, I definitely don't know how. Back at the hotel, I immediately told the boss and asked what to do, run or do the interview. The boss thought for a moment. The shipment day is just 2 days away. Running is impossible. You guys should look into the interview equipment, buy some in the afternoon, learn how to conduct the interview, don't say anything off the cuff, and try to bluff your way through. No other choice. I told Duya, listen to the boss. At that time, even though there were surveillance cameras and color TVs, computers weren't widespread. Interviews mainly used tape recorders and large video cameras. There was no internet streaming era. Videos were made into discs, but if you used DVDs, you couldn't even play them. We didn't know how to operate a video camera. After some discussion, we bought a microphone and a radio, plus some small notebooks for notes, bare minimum gear to make it work. The next day, Shang sent a car to pick us up. The Helan Mountain farming base was huge, not just camels, but cows, ostriches, donkeys, and other common animals. The boss and Qin Xingping came too, but only watched from a distance. Xiao Xin clutched her notebook, I carried the radio with the microphone cable plugged in, and Duya held the microphone saying, Mr. Shang, your farm's quite large. Shang paused, then said, it's decent. Duya then asked, how many animals does the Helan Mountain farm produce annually? Shang replied, which animal are you referring to exactly? Duya wanted to ask about pigs but didn't see any, so he changed it to, what about the cattle? What's the annual stocking rate? Businessman Shang Guanmin replied, our farm uses all natural feed, focusing on safety and health. We sell over 500 calves every year. Great, Duyazai put down the microphone, that's the end of the interview. Shang Guanmin stood there, stunned for 2 minutes, then asked in confusion, is that it? I said, Mr. Shang, it's not about how many interviews you do, but about quality. We'll be taking written notes next. Shang Guanmin gave an awkward smile. Alright then, let me show you around to help with your article. That kept us busy for a while. At noon, Shang Guanmin wanted to treat us to lunch, but I found an excuse to decline. I told him the article would be sent back to the newsroom, and it could help promote his farm. On the way back, Duyazai proudly said, from now on, don't call me Duyazai, call me Reporter Lu. Xiaoshan laughed uncontrollably. You're still a kid. Just be Reporter Do. In the end, it all boiled down to lack of internet and poor communication. If we'd had Baidu, we'd be finished by now. A few years ago, that radio was still around, but it got lost during a move. Otherwise, we could still play Duyazai's voice. There's an old saying, buyers aren't as shrewd as sellers. But the buyers who came to inspect the goods were each sharper than the last. Qin Xingping invited 3 wealthy antique dealers, Wang Rohai, Lu Yuaning, and a woman named Qinwan. They'd all worked together before and trusted each other, only then would they travel all the way to Yinchuan. To see so many buyers show up was no surprise to them. That day, everyone was present. Bado displayed many items, saving the Ashoka pillar for last. Wang Rohai, in his 50s with a Shaanxi accent, glanced at the jade bear and smiled, not bad, I like this one. I'll take it first. They nodded, and after Wang clasped his fists in thanks, his attention turned to Bado. Bado used a pricing method called the New Sleeve Universe. Buyers and sellers hinted at prices with fingers and phones to keep amounts discreet. Wang Rohai started with 10,000, which wasn't accepted. Then he offered 20,000, still no. He stopped at 30,000. Bado thought it was about right, and they shook hands to seal the deal. That's how the jade bear was sold. If outsiders inquired, Wang Rohai would say the purchase price was 80,000. Qinwan wasn't interested in the jade bear, but bought a bronze seal and a gilded Vajrayogini statue. The Vajrayogini later auctioned off brought a big profit. Lu Yuaning took the tortoiseshell belt plate and a bunch of copper ornaments from hats and crowns, planning to sort through for high-value pieces. All 3 clearly knew Bado was still holding back major items. Bado understood how to drive up prices, first whetting buyers' appetites, then finalizing deals. He smiled, it's getting late. Please pay first. You can look around tonight, the grand finale comes out tomorrow. Qinwan grinned, can you give us a hint about the finale? Afraid we won't sleep tonight. Wang Rohai nodded in agreement. Bado asked me, what does it look like? I thought a moment and said only one word, pillar. Hearing pillar, everyone's expressions immediately turned serious, smiles vanished. Qinwan apologized and quickly went outside to make a call. Wang Rohai scratched his head, then slammed the table, let's do this, and left. Lu Yuaning spoke least, just see you tomorrow, and departed. After they all left, Qin Xingping, who'd been silently watching, beamed, let's gather tonight, I'm treating roasted whole lamb. Bado smiled too, well, I won't refuse such generosity. We had planned to celebrate at Longchaoshang, but Baodo shook his head. No, it's not safe. Need to keep an eye on the goods. Let's just have some home-cooked dishes from the small restaurant downstairs, a little drink will do. Makes sense. Let's do as Baodo says. I'll just order a few dishes, we can hang out here tonight. The small restaurant downstairs delivered the dishes to Baodo's room. We ate there and left Dayazai to watch the Ashoka pillar. Dayazai said no problem and swore before leaving, don't worry. Where there's a person, the pillar stays. We drank Baijiu, the old Yinchuan 9-ben Lushui series, now renamed Gongsishi. It packed a punch. I advised everyone to drink lightly, but Qin Xingping laughed. Yunfeng, you've worked hard and suffered so much, time to enjoy a glass. Xiaoxian isn't drinking, so just the three of us and only one bottle. We'll finish it. At that, I didn't press further and replied, then I'll brave it with you. But after 2 glasses, I couldn't hold up. The aftershock of old Yinchuan Baijiu was stronger than Mengdealu. Baodo was slightly more sober but not great. Qin Xingping was the loudest drinker and the first to flop onto the table. Later, Xiaoxian helped me back to my room. Just past midnight, I was woken by pounding on the door, rubbing my eyes, head still throbbing. Opening the door, Baodo stood there with a cold expression. My heart tightened. 5 minutes later, we had surrounded Dayazai. Qin Xingping's eyes bloodshot as he yelled at Dayazai, where's the pillar? This is segment 140 of 283. Please process the following content according to your logic. Maintain the original paragraph structure, line breaks, and overall layout. Return only the processed result. Dayazai looked at us in panic, his lips trembling. I don't know. The atmosphere in the hotel room was tense. Dayazai looked like a child caught doing something wrong, helpless and flustered. Qin Xingping took a deep breath and steadied himself. What now? The buyers are already coming. If we tell them tomorrow there's no stock, our reputation in the business will be ruined. I patted Dayazai on the shoulder. Yazi, think carefully. After we drank and passed out last night, did anyone come in? Or did you hear any noises? Dayazai racked his brain but shook his head with a pale face. I only went to sleep after 3. I thought I'd nap a little, but when I woke up, the iron box was gone. We used an iron box to store the Ashoka pagoda, it had locks at both ends, bought from the boss, and he kept the keys. Now both the box and the pagoda were missing. They couldn't have just disappeared, they were definitely stolen. I asked the boss, does this hotel have cameras? He shook his head. No, too expensive. I asked the owner this morning. Without cameras or witnesses, there was no way to find the thief. And with the 3 buyers arriving tomorrow, things looked grim. Dayazai said shamefully, it's my fault. Hit me if you want. I won't fight back. Xiaoxian retorted loudly, beating you won't get the stuff back. Always lazy, never doing anything right. Enough. Let's go back to our rooms and think this through. See if we missed anyone, the boss said. That's weird. I noticed that while the boss was anxious, he didn't sound panicked. After everyone left, he patted my shoulder and told me to come to his room. What's up, boss? Got any leads? I asked as I entered and closed the door. He gestured for me to lock it. Click. I locked the door. Yunfeng, what do you make of this? The boss took a sip of tea. I shook my head. No clue. Not even a hint. He sighed and rhythmically tapped the table. Suddenly, he walked over to the bedside table and opened the drawer. I widened my eyes when I saw the rectangular iron box inside, frozen in place. How is this here? This is the iron box for the Ashoka pagoda. Seeing my shock, he quickly closed the drawer. Boss, how did the iron box end up with you? Shouldn't it have been in Dayazai's room? We didn't actually lose anything? My mind was spinning like a roller coaster, as if I were dreaming. The boss usually smoked little, but now he lit one, exhaling smoke and flicking the ash. Yunfeng, who bought the box and locks? You did. Everyone knows that. Wait, I opened my eyes wide. Boss, you didn't buy 2 sets, did you? He took 2 drags, stubbed out the cigarette, stood up, and said, Yunfeng, remember, in this world where interests clash, you have to cover your own back. I know Yazi's character, he wouldn't keep something so important with him. My heart raced. I whispered, Boss, do you know who did it? He shot back, you tell me who? I don't know. I shook my head. Don't know or don't dare to say? He stared at me. Leaving the boss's room, I zoned out. Dayazai was still sulking, angry with himself. Also, the boss asked me to buy a bottle of wine, said last night's was good, wanted me to get some Lao Yinchuan Jukashang. I went to a small eatery to ask. The owner said Jukashang was a strong liquor released years ago, now very expensive, a bottle costs over 700. No one drinks such pricey stuff here, they never stock it. Hearing that, I understood those involved were beginning to emerge. In this trade, backstabbing and bribery are common. But when trouble hits suddenly, it's hard to adjust, it hurts. Back at the hotel, I saw Qin Xingping fixing his clothes in front of the mirror. "Qin Gu, all dressed up. Where you headed?" His expression darkened as he buttoned up quickly. "We used so much manpower and resources, almost got stuck in the desert multiple times, finally got something, and now it's gone just like that." "Whatever, I'm going out for some fresh air." I looked him in the eye. "Qin Gu, don't rush. The boss has many connections, he's reaching out to see if he can help." Qin Xingping nodded, then asked, "What's Boss Wang's plan?" "The 3 buyers are coming tomorrow, what now?" I shook my head. "Not sure. I don't know what he intends." "Got it," he said, then turned and left. Watching his figure go down the stairs, I wondered, what's his next move? Does he have backup? If so, who and how many? I have no idea. That iron box was one the boss bought extra. I didn't expect it to come in handy. He really is experienced. From these past days, I've always thought Qin Xingping was bold, smart, and loyal, but when profits are at stake, people really do change. I watched him leave, guessing that once he realized the iron box no longer contained the Ashoka pillar, he wouldn't come back. Sure enough, he didn't return all night. Angry, I went to see the leader and said, "These rules are too harsh. Just letting him go like that? We're at odds now, shouldn't we?" The leader glanced at me, massaging his temple calmly, and said, "I'm old. You're young. It's not worth it." Back then, I thought he was scared. After all, the Sun brothers, Hong Jie, and their crew were all gone. The leader wouldn't dare directly confront Qin Xingping. Now, I'm actually grateful to him. His cold, hands-off approach and Qin Xingping's wise departure gave me a chance to start over. The leader told others that Qin Xingping had to leave Yinchuan urgently overnight due to family matters, and that the Ashoka pillar was taken by him from Duya's room while drunk last night. Duya was stunned for a long time after hearing this, realizing he hadn't lost anything himself, and was so moved he almost cried. But Xiao Xian wasn't clear on the truth. The deal was supposed to continue the next day. Qin Xingping, unable to resist temptation, ended up empty-handed, didn't earn a penny and didn't dare come back. Reality is often more thrilling than movies. After Qin Xingping left, the next day was set for meetings with 3 buyers. I had thought that once we sold this item, it would definitely hit 7 figures. We could all split it, each taking a few dozen without issue. The twist came the night before the deal. That evening, I had just finished my shower, ready to go back to my room and sleep, when the leader suddenly called me to his room. The curtains were drawn, and the Western Xia Ashoka pillar sat on the table. The leader looked very serious. I asked, "Is something wrong with the pillar?" He motioned for me to look closely. I glanced and said, "It's fine. Isn't this the same Ashoka pillar we brought out?" He looked even more grave. "Look again. Use a magnifying glass if you have to." I pulled up a chair and sat down, holding the iron tower in both hands, examining it. "Nothing wrong, perfect condition, no repairs or damage." "Wait," he urged. I shook the tower again carefully, then pressed it to my ear. In the dead silence of the night, I faintly heard a faint sound coming from inside the 4th section of the tower. I put down the tower, surprised, and said, "There's something hidden inside the 4th section." The leader nodded. I hadn't noticed before. I can't figure out why, since the tower was cast as one piece, only the 4th section would have something inside. What could the Western Xia worshippers have hidden 7 centuries ago? I guessed. Buddhist relics, statues, or maybe believers' fingernails, hair, scriptures? Usually, they'd seal it with a file-smooth cover. Would the Ashoka pillar be like that? He shook his head. This is the pinnacle of Buddhist art, small but extremely precious. In terms of importance, aside from the Padala Palace's golden beryl oracle and the 9-eyed Z bead, only those 8 great Thangka paintings even compare. Meaning, whatever's inside must be extraordinary, not some ordinary believer's relic but a holy object as significant as the Ashoka pillar itself. There are very few relics that could match it. There's only one golden beryl oracle, cast from 16 pounds of pure gold, split into 3 sections depicting the human, hell, and bliss realms. It's used to divine the reincarnation of living Buddhas. Legend says only genuine living Buddha reincarnates can insert the bamboo sticks in, no one else can. The 9-eyed Z bead is embedded in the forehead of a Padala Palace statue and considered the most precious of all beads. Others labeled with names like Medicine Buddha bead or Tiger Fang bead are just later inventions and nowhere near true Buddhist relics. The 8 great Thangka paintings, also called the 8 divine cards, feature portraits of notable masters and revered figures, including the founder of the Sakya sect and Beiji Dorje. Besides these, nothing else really compares to the Ashoka pillar. So what's hidden inside the tower we unearthed in Halahote? Judging by size, the golden barrel oracle couldn't fit, the nine-eyed Z-bead might, and the thankas would have to be especially small and rolled up. There's also one type of living relic that qualifies a saraira, and it must be a major lama's saraira. This tower is from the Western Xia period. It couldn't have been left there during the Yuan, Ming, or Qing dynasties. It might even hold the real saraira of Shakyamuni himself, the true relic of the Tathagata Buddha. Don't think this sounds far-fetched. Shakyamuni really did exist 2,000 years ago. The Ashoka pillars first appeared during the Maurya dynasty. Ashoka was the third ruler and a late-life Buddhist convert. Legend says that centuries after Shakyamuni's passing, Ashoka collected 14,000 of his sarairas, including skull bones, 4 teeth, and a section of middle finger bone. He cast over 10,000 iron towers to enshrine them. Historical texts record various types of saraira, such as crown bone, hair, finger bones, teeth, and shadow bones of the Buddha. We didn't know this at the time, but the Buddha's crown bone saraira wasn't unearthed until 2010 at the Dabaoan temple. There's a documentary about it, and you can find images of the Ashoka pillar where it was once enshrined. This is segment 142 of 283. Please see the processed content below, preserving the original paragraph structure, line breaks, and overall layout, with translation into English that aligns with American reading habits. The Ashoka Tower was quite large, over a meter tall, while the one in Mayan Commander Ba's hands was only about 30 centimeters, more like a miniature version. We spent the whole night discussing and speculating that this tower might contain a nine-eyed Z-bead, a Buddha relic, or a small-sized thanka. If it were just about selling, that would have been simple. But the problem arose suddenly. Whether to sell or not became a serious dilemma. Some might say, you guys are foolish. Why not just take out the items first, then sell? Best of both worlds. True enough, but at that time, we simply couldn't do that. Opening the Ashoka Tower at Dabaoan Temple was incredibly difficult. Military research experts spent 3 months drafting plans just to open it properly. Although our tower was much smaller, the difficulty was still significant. Whether we decided to sell or not aside, we had to put in a lot of effort just to see what was inside. Next, we'll explore how to open the Ashoka Tower completely without affecting its sale. To be continued. Just after 8 in the morning, the 3 buyers arrived as scheduled. I noticed that the woman named Qin Wan was very confident. It seemed she was determined to buy the Iron Tower. Wang Rohai also wanted to try making a bid. As for the man surnamed Lu, he sat down looking cold and indifferent. Wang Rohai smiled and said, "Commander Wang, now that everyone's here, why don't you take out the item so we can all see it? I've only seen this Iron Tower in museums before. Even if I can't buy it, getting to touch it once is worth it." Commander Ba signaled everyone to wait, then glanced at me. I nodded, quickly opened the door to have a look, then closed it and gave a sign that it was safe. Only then did Commander Ba speak. "There was a bit of a hiccup yesterday. We'll have to hold on to the item a few more days." Lu Yuaning stood up, squinting. "What do you mean? Did someone jump the queue? Or are you, Commander Wang, ignoring the rules?" Commander Ba replied calmly, "Rules are rigid, but people are flexible. I said a few more days, not selling. Highest bidder wins. Those rules still stand." Lu Yuaning asked, "So, you want full payment up front but ship later?" Commander Ba shook his head, "A 15% deposit of the total price first." Lu Yuaning immediately opposed, "I don't agree. Previously, working with Ba's son meant paying and receiving the item concurrently. Commander Wang, your rules have changed. I won't accept that." Commander Ba looked at Qin Wan. "Miss Qin, what are your thoughts?" Qin Wan hesitated. "How many days exactly?" 5 days total." Commander Ba held up 5 fingers. Qin Wan looked troubled. "It's not that I don't trust you, but my funds are pooled with Old Kong and Old Zhao." Commander Ba called me over to bring out the iron box and said, "Deposit first, then take a look." I opened the iron box. Everyone went silent, eyes fixed intently on the Iron Tower. After several minutes, I closed the box again. Wang Rohai was the first to speak. "I offer 40. Just as Qin Wan was about to respond, Lu Yuaning stood up. 438, "I've gathered everything." Commander Ba and I were stunned. Someone really buys things like this? Qin Wan pulled out her phone. "I need to discuss with my partners." Lu Yuaning shrugged, saying, "Rules in our business don't wait for anyone. In Guangdong, it's 10 minutes, Commander Wang, you give them 10 minutes too. How about that?" I thought to myself, this guy Lu is clever. Commander Ba used the rules to justify his stance, and Lu used the same rules to fight back. In the South, private deals really do work on a 10-minute card game rule. Rules can't wait. Commander Ba was about to say there was no time, but Lu would definitely counter, "You don't follow the rules, but I do." Xinwan had partners backing her up. Lu was clearly seizing the opportunity. In the end, Lu won the bid. Before Xinwan finished her call, time was up. I guessed Wang Ruhai could only offer about 200 at most. Commander Ba wasn't happy, he thought Xinwan might have bid higher. But if he did that, his reputation as Wang Xiansheng would be damaged. Afterward, Lu Yuaning and Commander Ba had a private talk. Per agreement, we collected over 650,000 yuan, and he would come pick up the tower in 5 days, paying the remainder upon delivery. At parting, Lu shook hands with Commander Ba and said, "Commander Wang, I'm gambling with almost my entire life savings this time, don't let anything go wrong." Commander Ba promised, "Don't worry, I understand." With the deal sealed and money in hand, we had exactly 5 days to extract the hidden contents from the 4th section of the Iron Tower. Normally, Ashoka towers are protected by stone or iron caskets outside. Our Iron Tower was quite unusual, the hidden item had been taken from the belly of a mummy. No one knew why it was hidden there. Commander Ba and I had brainstormed several methods last night, but none worked. Duya got anxious, "This is tough. Maybe we should just saw it in two?" I stopped him, "Don't even say that, Duya. We took a deposit, if we damage it, we'll have to pay penalties." Duya scratched his head, "Then what? I wish I could shrink down and take a look inside." "Shrink?" Commander Ba suddenly stood up and slammed the table. "Got it. Duya just gave me an idea." Commander Ba immediately asked, "Duya, you've worked on ships for years. You must be familiar with the conditions inside ship pipelines, right? This is section 143 of 283. Please process the following content according to your logic. Keep the original paragraph structure, line breaks, and overall layout. Return only the processed result." Duya's I thought for a few minutes, then suddenly clapped his hands and said excitedly, "I get it, Batu, you want to use a ship repair borescope to look inside the tower, right?" Batu smiled, "Good, kid, you're not dumb." Duya's I then recalled something and said, "But my uncle has one on his ship, it's used by mechanics to check for corrosion and welds inside pipes. But there's not enough time to have it shipped over." Batu nodded. "You're right, Yuzai. We need to buy an industrial-grade borescope locally." We asked all over Yinchuan, but hardware stores were out of stock. Finally, thanks to one hardware store owner, we rented one for over 1,000 yuan. It was expensive, but we had no choice. The delivery day was getting closer and closer. That afternoon, Batu sketched the tower, dividing it into 5 sections. Pointing, he said, "The bottom of the pagoda is solid, the middle is hollow. Since the solid part can't hide anything, we have to drill a hole at the base of the tower to insert the borescope cable." I asked, "How will we fix the hole after drilling? If we can't cover it properly, how do we explain it to Lu Yuaning?" Batu said, "Not difficult. We'll leave some metal shavings as proof. He's got experts who can handle the repair." That night, a few of us gathered in a room to start the work. The borrowed borescope was in a leather case, connected by a cable, looking like a large thermal gun with a screen. The screen clarity was low, we could only vaguely make out the images. Batu laid the iron tower flat and used a drill bit to mark a point along the edge, then started drilling. It was tough at first, the drill bit kept slipping, but after a little progress, it got better. The Ayawang Tower's base was about 7 centimeters thick. We switched drill bits and worked slowly for over 3 hours. Suddenly, the drill made a light cracking sound, meaning it had pierced through the tower's base, just as Batu guessed, with a hollow interior. Wiping sweat, Batu said, "Yuzai, straighten the cable and see if it can slide through." Duyazai straightened the cable and cautiously pushed it in. "No good, the cable has a small light at the end, but it's too big and gets stuck," Duyazai said. Batu ground some more before the cable finally slid in smoothly. "How's it looking, Yunfeng? Usable?" I adjusted the brightness and looked at the 2-inch screen. "Yes, it's working. We have images." Batu and Xiao Xian gathered around to look. The borescope showed each section of the tower's body with 3 iron rods crossing horizontally, probably for structural support. "Push further, Yuzai, a little more force," I urged. Duyazai continued pushing the cable. "Stuck again." I looked at the screen. "You've hit an iron rod. Pull it slightly to the left." "Good, keep going." I guided him to thread the borescope cable through the gaps between the 3 rods. "Wait, what's that?" Batu stared intensively at the screen. I looked confused at the screen, where something looked like a rolled yellow-white scroll of paper, but the image was blurry. "Paper? Not a thanka, nor the 9-eye heavenly bead. A scroll from the Western Xia? Still preserved?" Batu said, "Kozlov took many manuscripts from Khoto back then. The Ola State Museum has a book, the Fanhan combined pocket pearl, a Western Xia to Chinese paper dictionary. Duyazai tilted his head, looking at the screen. We're done for, just a small piece of old paper, what a loss. I gritted my teeth and told Duyazai to keep feeding the cable in. We finally reached the top of the tower without finding anything else. I asked Batu, when we shook the tower, we heard noises. Would paper make noise? Batu shook his head, not sure. We need to get it out to sea. We found some iron wire, bent it into a small hook. Duyazai poked gently, pushing the object bit by bit toward the edge. It's fallen. I can't get it out. Duyazai panicked. The hole's too small. At this stage, we couldn't let it go without a try. Batu had to enlarge the hole with a drill. I broke out in cold sweat, wondering what Lu Yuaning would say if he found a big hole and refused to buy. Finally, the object fell out. It wasn't paper but a small piece of thin sheepskin, oxidized and discolored, looking like paper. The sheepskin was rolled into a cylinder, tied with silver wire that had long since blackened. Batu carefully pinched a corner and slowly unrolled it. The palm-sized sheepskin bore lines of small Western Xia script in the upper right corner. Below the text were several mountains, in front of which stood tower-like buildings and a few trees. Batu looked puzzled. What is this? Western Xia script? A drawing? A map? Why does it look like a fortress? Since Batu couldn't understand it, we had no idea either. Duyazai kept saying, we're screwed, big loss. Indeed, if it were the 9-eye heavenly bead, we'd be rich. The relic would have value. But the sheepskin's writing was illegible, essentially worthless. Batu checked the time and took a deep breath. Let's secure this first and study it later. Yunfeng, you bring the tower and the metal shavings from drilling with me. Yuzai, you and Xiao Xian stay behind. This person we were going to see was very skilled, a master of forgeries, not just able to create counterfeits, but also an expert at restoration. This is segment 144 of 283. Please process the following content logically, maintaining the original paragraph structure, line breaks, and overall layout. Return only the processed result. He secretly arrived in Yinchuan the day before yesterday, hiding in a small inn. On the streets, they call him Liao Sanding, but he told me to call him Uncle Liao. Uncle Liao is in his 50s, with large red birthmarks on his forehead, and his repair skills are a mystery. When he saw the hole in the iron drill, he just shook his head and said, it'll take 5 hours to fix. To this day, I still don't know exactly how he did it, only that he spent 4 or 5 hours working on the iron shavings knocked off the base of the Ashoka pillar, and somehow managed to patch up the hole at the base of the pillar. The repair fee was 50,000 yuan, an average of 10,000 yuan per hour, both fast and efficient. When Duyazi saw it afterward, he was stunned and said, who fixed it? A genius, no doubt. I quietly asked the boss about how long the repair would hold. He smiled and said, it should last you a lifetime. Lu Yuaning carefully inspected it as well and raised no objections, so we smoothly received the remaining payment. When it came time to split the money, Duyazi was especially happy, saying he had never seen that much cash in his life. According to the rules, the boss takes 40%, the remaining 60% is first deducted, 10% as team expenses, and what's left is divided among me, Duyazi, and Xiao Xian. When Qin Xingping was around, we couldn't get so much, now the four of us split his share evenly. Although logically I should get a little more, I let it slide. Xiao Xian is a slacker, and I don't bother arguing, let her coast along for now. My wallet's bulging. That night, Duyazi ran up to me saying, Yunfeng, thanks for bringing me into the trade. I asked, so? I didn't lie to you, right? You're making more than running boats with your uncle? He grinned, for sure. Even 10 years running boats wouldn't earn this much. After a moment, he smiled again and said, Yunfeng, did you forget something? What? I asked. He rubbed his hands and chuckled, think carefully about those things on the boat we did together. Only then did I remember. Back then, I lent the boss over 20,000 yuan for surgery, recalling that little tin box where he hid his money. I laughed and said, no problem, I'll pay you back tomorrow. Don't rush, Duyazi scratched his head, it's 27,650 yuan. We stayed in Yinchuan a few more days, while the boss kept studying the parchment scrolls inside the Ashoka pillar. As for me, Duyazi, and Xiao Xian, we weren't interested in the scrolls. With money in our pockets, we started going out and having fun. Those days, the three of us thoroughly enjoyed Yinchuan, tasting camel hump delicacies, buying name-brand clothes, shopping for whatever we wanted. Xiao Xian bought several handcrafted Hui ethnic costumes, Duyazi picked up a few bottles of very expensive goji berry medicinal wine. Curious, I asked why a young guy would buy that, and he laughed, Ningxia's goji berries are top-notch. The store owner said this wine uses the king of goji berries, one berry is worth 10. I'm getting it ready for my wedding. 2 other places left a deep impression. We went sandboarding at Tanger Desert Shapadu, just a few of us sliding down the sand dunes seated on wooden boards, thrilling as hell. Then the Northwest Film Studio, where we climbed atop the city wall that appeared in A Chinese Odyssey, the earth wall where Ji Zuanbao and Zi Xiaoferi met. After a few days, I went back to see the boss. He was still studying the parchment maps. I asked, "Boss, you've written so much, have you figured anything out?" He folded a dozen or so sheets of white paper and shook his head. Too difficult. The day before yesterday, I went to the Yinchuan Museum and copied a single character from the parchment map to ask a deputy researcher. He didn't even recognize it. You mean a specialist didn't know it? I was surprised. Experts at local museums are usually quite sharp, and although Xixia script is tough, someone usually recognizes it. Yeah, he sighed, that researcher's surname is Ma. He said this character is a special kind within the Xixia script, kind of like palace characters, used only within the elite circles of the Tangut nobility and royal family. Translating it nowadays is extremely challenging. Palace characters? Also invented by Yeli Runrong? I knew that back then. Yeli Runrong created over 6,000 Xixia characters. Just then, Duyazi came in carrying wine. What are you talking about? Boss, try my Goji King wine to boost your health. He cheerfully poured a small cup for the boss and half a cup for me. The boss relaxed, took a sip and said, "Good wine, strong medicinal taste." I asked, "Boss, the Xixia characters on the parchment, can we recognize any of them?" "Nothing concrete yet." The boss set down his cup. "But there are many experts in the literary and historical fields. Since Yeli Runrong was able to create this script, I believe someone can decode it." The conversation shifted to Yeli Runrong, a genius over 700 years ago. When Emperor Yuanhao ascended the throne, the Xixia still used Chinese characters. He ordered Yeli Runrong to create a unique script. Yeli Runrong and his team worked for over 2 years perfecting it, inventing the Xixia script. Yuanhao demanded it be majestic and unique, so that the Song and Jin people would immediately recognize it as ours. Yeli Runrong worked so hard he went gray. The script is very complex. Modern kids would be scared to death writing their own names. He also invented a high-level version called the palace script used only by nobles. Its meanings differ, and now no one studies it. It looks like scribbles to most. The next morning, the leader came to me and said, "Yunfeng, are you ready? We've had enough fun. Let's head back to the Hu tribe and deliver the things to Aji and the others." I replied, "Everything's ready, but the generator is pretty heavy." He said, "No problem. Shang promised to lend us camels. We'll go get the camels in the afternoon and set out tomorrow." As I was about to leave, I asked, "What about our stuff?" The leader squinted and said, "Bring it along." We went to the camel ranch and got a few camels. Xiaoxian bought lots of snacks for kids and packed 2 large snakeskin bags full of gifts for the Hu children. After resting one night, we loaded the generator, dolls, and snacks onto the camels, and set off just after 9 in the morning. I wanted to hire our guide, Old Zhang, but the leader said it wasn't necessary. He remembered the route, and the Hu people were waiting for us, so they probably wouldn't move. I understood he had other plans this time, which was why he didn't call Old Zhang. Our return trip went exceptionally smoothly, no sandstorms or marching ants to deal with. A few days ago at the fire festival, most of the tribe got to know us. As we passed the Crescent Oasis, some herding kids spotted us and hurried back to report. Aji excitedly came out to meet us. His eyes lit up when he saw the new generator on the camel's back. "How about it, Aji? See, I told you I keep my word. This Dayu brand is way better than your old broken one." Aji happily helped lead the camels back to the Hu tribe. Xiaoxian gave Uncle Hulu 3 sets of dolls, and the old clan chief's granddaughter got a set too. We shared all the snacks with the herding kids. During dinner that night, he subtly gestured at me. After I nodded, I stepped outside. The Hu's earthen cave dwellings were arranged in rows, 2 stories high, with ladders in the middle. By custom, married people lived on the lower level, singles on the upper. Duyazi joked, "It's just like dorm bunks, married on the bottom, singles on top. What if the upper floor collapses? What's Aji up to?" I climbed the ladder to peek inside. Aji was anxiously pointing at the generator. "Why isn't this thing running?" Seeing him hauling the heavy generator upstairs, I asked, "You carried that 100 or 200 pound machine up here by yourself?" Aji nodded, and I couldn't help but admire him. Taking a closer look at the new generator, I quickly found the issue. "Can't use it?" I asked. "No fuel," he said. I reminded him, "Add some gas." Only then did Aji realize, and poured hidden diesel into the tank. Once fueled, the machine roared to life, loud as a tractor. "Turn it off, it's too noisy," I said. I need to tell you something. Aji shut it down and asked what. I glanced around, then whispered, Aji, want a better phone? I've brought new games way more fun than Thunderbolt. Next time I'll get you one. Aji paused, squinting. You guys planning to visit Halahot again? Want Uncle Hulu to guide, and me to translate? I praised his smarts but noticed his expression darken, wondering if I'd said something wrong. Suddenly he laughed, walked over, and shook my hand. Deal. A cat that doesn't like fish isn't a good cat. Tomb raiding, like other trades, requires hard work to get rich. Whether southern or northern style, this business values quick in and quick out. After seeing so many good antiques and treasures, you get used to it like a married couple whose daily life naturally settles. The leader, having his share of the earnings, was naturally tempted. Last time we got close to Halahut, this time we came prepared. Aji's smooth talk convinced Uncle Hulu to lead us back to Blackwater City. After resting 2 days, the leader and Uncle Hulu discussed and decided to go. The last trip from the dry well back took 3.5 days, this time less than 2.5. Upon arrival, I immediately sensed something wrong. The grave mound where we'd buried bones last time was gone, now just flat ground. Uncle Hulu said, through Aji's translation, strong winds must have blown away the dry soil. The leader shook his head. That's wrong. What about the bones? Even if the dirt's blown away, how could all the bones vanish? Aji's expression changed. Realizing the explanation didn't hold, he asked Uncle Hulu again, who could offer no explanation either. Diazi said, maybe wild wolves or dogs dragged them off? I reminded him those bones were hundreds of years old. Wild dogs wouldn't touch them, not even sniff. Suddenly, Xiaoxian shouted, look. We had been so busy talking about the bones that we hadn't noticed a new blue stone slab near the dry well. We rushed over. The slab was about the same size as the old one, but freshly carved with many Buddha sutras. Where had this slab come from? Who put it there? The engraving style was Western Xia, with distinct Buddha features. The leader asked Uncle Hulu if anyone nearby lived there. Uncle Hulu shook his head immediately. July and August are rainy season and the riverbed would have water then. But it's not rainy season now, so the riverbed is dry. Duyazi was excited. No one lives here, so where did the well cover come from? This thing could sell for money, who'd just throw it here? This is content segment 146/283. Please see the processed version below, preserving the original paragraph breaks, line spacing, and overall layout, adapted for American readers. To keep everyone from overthinking, I told them to take it easy. We were still on the outskirts of Haralahat after all. We decided to head further in and see what was there. Duyazai knew the stone slabs were valuable, so he tied them onto his camel. We checked the well down below, nothing unusual. After walking for about an hour, we reached the small stream that Uncle Hulu mentioned. The water was there, but the stench was enough to choke you. The water was black, mixed with rotten grass and several dead wild birds. The smell definitely came from there. Duyazai threw a stone in. The splash sounded shallow. The water's no more than a meter deep, he said. The camels wanted to drink, but the ropes held them back. Still, they nudged little Xiaoxian toward the water's edge. Ajay said, let them drink. Don't worry about it. I was concerned the water was dirty, worried the camels might get diarrhea. Ajay, a local with plenty of experience, said, it's normal for camels to drink dirty water. As long as they don't do it all the time, it's fine. We didn't argue. The camels really drank non-stop, one of them gulping down maybe 200 gene of water. Ajay looked a little worried. Camels are sensitive to water sources, he said. Drinking this much means most of the nearby places don't have fresh water. For safety, everyone should check the water around here. Duyazai tested the water from different spots and loudly declared it was fine enough for 20 days drinking. Wait, don't leave yet. Ajay suddenly pointed at the water's surface, shouting, is that a bone? I had already started leading my camel a dozen yards away but rushed back after hearing him. After all the water the camels drank, the water level dropped slightly. Beneath the surface, faint white, long shapes appeared. The water was so dark, you wouldn't see them unless you looked closely. Ajay said they looked like bones. Our faces instantly grew serious. Duyazai grabbed a rotten branch and poked beneath the water, then pulled out a piece. It was yellowish white, had to be bone. Dead human bones. Damn, that scared me. Duyazai cursed and pulled up 2 more pieces. I asked in disbelief, are these the ones we buried? Who dumped them here? Xiaoxian asked Ajay if maybe someone from the tribe did this after we left. No, Ajay shook his head. Our cave dwellings face west. We graze sheep near Crescent Oasis. Normally, no one goes east, let alone traveling that far away for days. Duyazai stroked his chin, musing, weird, this place is a godforsaken spot where no birds even drop poop. Could the bones have wandered out by themselves? Stop guessing. Let's get out of here, I said, scanning the surroundings. This area doesn't look like an ancient city site. Let's move forward and find some shelter. Eat and spend the night there. After saying that, I asked Uncle Hulu which way to go. The sun was about to set. He pointed to the distant dark red horizon and said a few words. Ajay nodded as he listened. He says if we walk about an hour more, there's a big stone with a very smooth surface. We can rest there tonight. I nodded. Alright, we'll follow his plan. When we reached the spot, we saw a huge rock, 7 or 8 meters tall, standing stark against the desolate hard sand. Its surface was very smooth, like the wind had polished it. In the desert, all you see is sand or scattered stones. Spotting such a massive rock is rare, so everyone felt something special. We hurriedly set up our tents before dark, built a fire, and sat around it eating dry rations and drinking water. The dry grass and branches crackled as they burned. Nobody spoke. We quietly enjoyed this rare moment of peace. Uncle Hulu lay on the rock, legs crossed, silently gazing up at the stars in a daze. Suddenly, he turned to Ajay and spoke. What did he say? I asked. Ajay answered, he said the rock reminded him of a friend from his childhood. Back then, they used to lie on rocks like this and watch the stars. Duyazai leaned in and said, friend? Male or female? If it's a girl and at this hour you're here stargazing, got a story to tell? Uncle Hulu grinned widely, showing his big teeth. He shared a story about his first love, his tone tinged with sadness. I said, that's how it is for everyone, uncle. You're good now, wife, kids, a warm hearth, no money worries. Let the past be past. Duyazai stroked his chin, pretending deep thought, that's youth. No one's youth is perfect, there's always regret. Now I want to write a poem, youth, young one, first love, my dream, my dream. Ugh. Xiao Xian started vomiting repeatedly. Enough. With your elementary school culture, stop grossing us out. Duyazai wasn't convinced, then you try one. We all laughed. I noticed Uncle Hulu furrowed his brows and seemed lost in thought. Uncle Hulu? Uncle Hulu? I called twice. He snapped back and said, Yunfeng, bring me a needle. I want to try stabbing here. I looked where he pointed. That's the big rock. Why stab it all of a sudden? We're not doing a consecration ceremony. He insisted, try it. I feel something's off. I agreed and went to get a consecration needle from the camels. This needle is specifically designed for hitting stone tomb tops, used more by the northern school, while the southern school tends to use explosives. The needle is over a meter long, with a hooked tip. By drilling 2 holes in a circle, you can make a hole in the tomb's roof. Here? I asked, aiming at the spot. The boss nodded in agreement and called Duya to help. We started hammering using a stone as a hammer. Duya was inexperienced and almost smashed my hand, so I told him to be more careful. After a few strikes, I found it odd the stone felt hard on top but soft underneath, making it surprisingly easy to break. Even stranger was the black color of the dust. This stone's been burned, the boss concluded. Burned? You mean? I was surprised. He stomped his foot. This sandstone was scorched by a big fire, which weakened its hardness. Rocks like river pebbles would be fine, but this one was likely damaged in that massive fire back in Blackwater City. We weren't sure exactly what kind of stone it was, could be part of a load-bearing wall, or paving stone from the main avenue, but it confirmed we had stepped into Blackwater City's boundaries. The boss studied Blackwater City's records and said it was home to the Western Xia's 12 military inspectors. The city was divided into East and West districts. The West housed government offices and temples, the East was for residents and shops, with a main east-west avenue lined with taverns, tea houses, and vendors in between. Over 7 centuries had passed, and the once bustling city had long since vanished into dust and ruin, leaving only sand and scattered stones. Uncle Guolu pointed northeast and said some fallen stone pagoda tips lay there, our target for tomorrow, but they might be buried by sand by now. The boss and I exchanged glances, both excited. These burned paving stones and pagoda tips proved we were in the right place. The boss ordered, rest now. We set out early tomorrow. Everyone responded and went back to their tents. The night passed quietly. Before dawn, the boss woke us. The destination was about 30 kilometers away, so we had to leave early. No water to wash faces, and waking up so early, Duya looked sluggish, sprawled across a camel. I said to him, come on, Duya, wake up. He yawned, pointing skyward, it's still dark. Can't we sleep a little more? Xiao Xian kicked him. You pig. Sleeping all day, did you forget why we're here? Duya laughed, resting his head on the camel's neck. "Miss, your kick was strong. Want me to take another one?" Such a brat. As dawn brightened, Aji suddenly pointed ahead. "Look over there." Following his gesture, we saw scattered stone pagoda tips on the sandy ground, as well as two long, neatly worked stones, maybe lintels or foundations. We hurried over. Duya was the first to leap off his camel. Back then, the Western Xia adopted Buddhism as the state religion, and local governments allowed ordinary people to build pagodas as offerings. Pagodas were everywhere. Blackwater City, as a frontier hub, had many pagodas funded by believers, some over 10 meters tall, some just a few meters. These pagoda tips were half buried in the soil. Judging by the exposed parts, the pagodas were around 3 to 5 meters tall. Blackwater City was a town, not a cemetery. Our goal was to dig up relics from the city itself. In such a vast area, we might find stone carvings, steels, building components, wooden slips, gold and silver items, daily utensils, even pots and pans. Though hopes were slim, everyone dreamed of unearthing an Ashoka pillar. Those were hot commodities. We'd seen how valuable they could be, too tempting to ignore. Digging tombs here didn't require skill, just a lot of effort. The flat desert stretched wide with no mountains or rivers, no special feng shui to guide us. Back then, Kozlov also hired people to dig randomly, and we did the same. One person with a shovel, digging a hole. If nothing surfaced after a meter or so, move on. Random digging sometimes paid off. On the first day, Duya unearthed a half-damaged green stone lion statue. Xiaoxian found a worn meditation cushion, a kind used for chanting. I had no luck, and Aji found some cylindrical stone object that looked like a rolling pin. The summary of day 1 was, nothing of value, just junk. Grave robbing was like finding a needle in a haystack. Chances of hitting treasure were slim. We camped, ate dry rations, and carried shovels, working from dawn till dusk. By the 4th day, Duya couldn't take it anymore. Dropping his shovel, he complained, "What's the point? Not a single decent find. Combined, it's not worth the last jade bear we found. Forget it, let's quit and look somewhere else. Maybe this is Blackwater City's poor district, nothing valuable." The boss looked around, shook his head. "We'll work one more day. If no luck, then we move on." Duya sullenly picked up his shovel and kept digging. "Where's Aji?" the boss asked me. He wandered far. I pointed to a dark spot in the distance. Anxious myself, seeing supplies dwindle, I knew if we didn't strike anything soon, morale would drop. Then luck struck. Aji, our hardest worker and cheapest laborer, became our lucky charm. He'd finally uncovered something valuable. From a distance, he waved, and we quickly ran over. Duyazai was the first to arrive. Upon seeing the items, he couldn't help but curse. In the pit Aji dug, scattered were more than a dozen copper flat flasks. These were water flasks used by the Tangut people on horseback, typical of the northwestern nomadic style. Each flask could fetch 5,000 to 6,000 yuan from middlemen and even more from collectors. The dozen flasks were worth tens of thousands in total. We all praised Aji's talent. Among these flasks was an especially exquisite one, gold and silver inlaid shallow relief depicting a white horse leaping, its muscle lines vivid and lifelike. This was called the Western Xia gold and silver inlaid white steed copper flat flask. I heard the Ningxia Museum also has an identical piece, likely made by the same craftsman. The difference is, they don't sell theirs, but we could move ours if priced right. However, selling that flask brought trouble. Someone took notice. More on that later. Aji's luck didn't stop there. The flask was full of sand. Xiaoxian was in charge of pouring it out and surprisingly found over 30 copper coins. These coins were in good condition and rare. Previously, scholars didn't recognize the Western Xia and called them Sanskrit coins, but they are actually privately minted Western Xia currency. All the coins we unearthed were Guangdong Yuanbao copper coins, originally priced at 500 yuan each, but now worth several times that. With these finds, our hard work over the past few days finally paid off. Speaking of treasure detectors, they can detect underground metal. 10 or so years ago, we didn't have these devices. It would have been great if we had them earlier. But this is a protected area, so don't even try. After cleaning up, on the 6th day, we continued deeper. Along the way, the boss had me try a few tappings with a Luoyang spade. That Kozlov guy found 3 underground tombs nearby, each packed with treasures, but despite dozens of attempts, I found nothing. Our water and food supplies would last another week. Subtracting 3.5 days for the return trip, we had about 4 days of water left. The camel's instincts were accurate. There really was no water nearby. The boss kept a close eye on the overall situation and arranged when to retreat. He said if we didn't find a water source within 3 days, we'd have to head back. That night, everyone was exhausted and went to bed early. I had just lain down when I heard Duyazai quietly calling outside, "Hey, Yunfeng, Yunfeng." Duyazai said, "I found something valuable. Get up quick, let's dig it." I was too tired to move and half-heartedly replied, "It's the middle of the night, let's talk tomorrow." "Go to sleep. Get up, it's real stuff. If I'm lying, call me a puppy." Duyazai's voice grew urgent. "What kind of real stuff?" I was intrigued. "Come outside, I'll tell you." I was puzzled. Normally he just barged in. Why did he want me to go out now? It was past 10, the campfire still burning, casting long shadows of Duyazai. I cautiously asked, "What's the most important thing we dug up these days?" "How would I know? We found so much, can't remember." I pressed, "Think hard." "You even praised Aji's find." "Yunfeng, you mean?" Suddenly, an idea struck me. "Is it that blue and white porcelain vase, Yongjiang red glaze one?" "Yes, exactly that. Really special." Duyazai laughed outside the tent. My face instantly paled. "What blue and white Yongjiang red porcelain? I just made that up." We hadn't seen any porcelain at all. "Yunfeng, come out quickly, or I'm coming in." Duyazai's voice rose. With a rip, the tent was slashed open. "Yuzai, what are you doing?" I instinctively stepped back. Duyazai's face turned pale, his eyes rolling up, holding a small knife, sounding high-pitched, "You cut my stomach, it hurts." Then the voice shifted to a woman's as he lunged the knife at me. I screamed and jolted awake, sweat soaking my back, gasping heavily. It was all just a dream. "Get up, time for breakfast." Xiaoxian called early. The strange dream from last night kept me restless till past midnight, and in the morning, I ate some hot water-soaked flatbread with pickled vegetables. "Yuzai, did you finish the task from last night? Have the items been counted?" the boss asked while carrying the food basin. "Done," Duyazai said, pointing at the camel with chopsticks, 16 copper flat flasks, several dozen copper coins, and a big bundle of miscellaneous copper items, all tied up. Duyazai asked, "Do we still sell those copper scraps to the Liu family?" The boss nodded, saying selling to the Lius was convenient since he had many contacts in Panjiayuan market. The scrap copper wasn't worth much, but having volume made it easy to sell. Most went to wholesalers, who distributed them across various second and third-tier antique markets. Buyers had no idea what they were actually buying, and sellers spun tales. This iron plate was once used to hold an incense burner in a temple, or that bell was worn by war horses during battles. A few tens worth of goods sold for hundreds by fooling laymen. The Liu Yuaning mentioned last time, the king of scrap in Panjiayuan, is in his 60s, had a stroke, walks crookedly, and can barely hold his bowl steady. This is content segment 149 out of 283. Please process the following text according to your logic while preserving the original paragraph structure, line breaks, and overall layout. Return only the processed result. He has a nephew, short and skinny, who sets up a stall at Panjiayuan every other Saturday. Interested buyers can look for him. He carries a black backpack, lays out his wares with bubble wrap and newspaper, and usually positions himself somewhere between spots 30 to 40 in row 3 of the outdoor flea market area. He speaks with a Jiangxi accent. The brass trinkets and coins he sells are genuine. Most of his customers are regulars. It's suspected that these items were stolen from Liu Yuaning's warehouse. If you want authentic sets of the 5 emperor coins for home protection, you can find him. A set of 5 costs about 650 yuan. The ordinary authentic 5 emperor coins are around that price. The pricier items tend to be Yongjiang Tongbao and Xuanji Tongbao coins. Liu Yuaning's place probably has over 1,000 sets. After working hard for several days, Duya suggested taking half a day off, and the group agreed. After eating, we sat around chatting. Since all of us had something to do with Panjiayuan, naturally the topic turned to its current state. Right now, vendors at Panjiayuan can be grouped into 4 major factions and some independent dealers: the Jiangxi faction, the Fujian faction, the Hunan faction, and the Xinjiang faction. The Jiangxi faction, centered around Jingdezhen, specializes in high-quality replica porcelain, famille rose, dotsai, enamel, blue and white, you name it. They produce nearly flawless copies of national treasure ceramics. If you want a beautiful antique-style vase, go wholesale at the big steel cabinet stalls in Area 4. Prices range from a few dozen to a couple of hundred yuan. Most goods on the ground stalls come from there. The Fujian faction mainly sells new and old purple clay teapots, tea sets, and jianware. Jianware refers to those bowls advertised as glowing red when water is poured on them. Many of these are fakes, often cracked on the foot. Some Yaobian Jian tea bowls claim to be restored national treasures but are actually chemically treated and might even be toxic if used at home. Buying tea sets? Glass cups are a safer bet. Avoid buying these at Panjiayuan. Online purchases are more reliable. The Hunan faction deals in Rukiln porcelain and Tibetan Buddhist items like Ru ware, Z beads, and Buddha statues. Since these come from Hunan, they have a large supply. They're well organized, often sending entire families, and their stalls are lined up in several rows. For items priced around 3,000 yuan, when customers balk at the price, they casually ask, "How about 300? Their attitude is relaxed and flexible. "Just take it for 300. Look at these hand-carved decorations. Selling at 300 means taking a loss. When you put down the item and prepare to leave, they stay silent for a moment. After you've taken a couple steps, they rush up and shove the item back in your hand, saying, "Okay, 300 it is. Let's be friends even if I lose money." With a quick WeChat transfer, the money's done. The item, wrapped in old newspaper and stuffed into a plastic bag, is sold at a 285 yuan loss. Then they go back to sit down and continue playing cards. The Xinjiang faction sells Hetian jade, including green Hetian jade and white Hetian jade. Panjiayuan's market is known for cracking down on fakes, especially dyed glass posing as jadeite. Those beer bottle green jadeites are hardly brought out in the morning, only displayed around noon during lunch. These sellers have two standard lines. When asked about material, they insist the bracelets are jadeite. Once you verify them and get a certificate, they turn out to be fake B-grade dyed jadeite. Want to return it? They won't take it back, because they only said jadeite, not A-grade jadeite, much like ambiguous labeling with conch and noodles. Raw Hetian jade mining was banned a few years ago, so most stones now come from Korea, Russia, Kunlun, or Qinghai mines. There's a gemstone appraisal center at the north entrance charging 50 yuan for certification. If you bring these materials in, the certificate still reads Hetian jade, but adds a tremolite annotation. If you buy fake jade from the Xinjiang faction and didn't spend much, just accept it to avoid trouble. If the amount is significant, preserve the evidence and report it to the police. Don't confront them head-on, they're numerous and united. I know all this because in recent years I've often dealt with Panjiayuan antiques dealers. I even asked several well-connected traders if they'd heard of someone called Big Gold Tooth. They said no, though a few mentioned big gold chains. After a short break, we continued deeper into the Heishui City ruins in the afternoon. Uncle Hulu said he'd only been here once before. Alxit is so vast that even he doesn't know what lies beyond. I looked up at the sky, overcast, the ground covered in dry sand and rubble, with only a few tumbleweeds. This was truly a no man's land. The group leader said, "Don't wander too far. Stay within sight. Duya and Aji, you're one team, Yunfeng and Xiaoxian, you're another. Watch your footing, and if you find any stone bricks or fragments, be sure to take note." We all acknowledged and grabbed our short-handled shovels, spreading out. After so many days in Alxa, Xiaoshuan's spoiled young lady demeanor had faded a lot. Who says girls are weaker than boys? Although Xiaoxian is a bit of a rebel, she hadn't complained once on this trip. It was impressive. "Look! What is this? A brick?" Xiaoxian exclaimed, like she'd found treasure. I glanced over. "That's a green brick. Wait, looks like there are inscriptions on it." I picked it up and examined it carefully. The brick was etched with faint Western Xia script. The brick itself wasn't worth much, so I told Xiaoxian to step aside while I prepared to dig a test hole. Using a Luoyang shovel, the first scoops were just sand. Digging down 1.5 meters, we finally hit solid earth. The soil is seasoned earth. It feels promising. The great tombs from the Shang, Zhou, and Warring States periods used pale blue-white clay, which has a distinctive smell when touched. Tombs from the Tang and Song dynasties used sticky rice paste clay, which feels tacky. Ming and Qing dynasty tombs mostly used quicklime, which turns the soil white after absorbing water. Tomb robbers can date a site by the soil using these tricks. What's the difference between seasoned and raw soil? Raw soil is undisturbed earth that matches the surrounding color and has a dense structure. Seasoned soil has been turned over before, showing uneven color and a loose texture. The seasoned soil brought up by the Luoyang shovel doesn't always mean there's a tomb. Sometimes it's just ancient farmland. But if the seasoned soil contains pale blue-white clay or sticky rice paste clay, then it definitely signals an ancient tomb. Heishui City is a Western Xia ancient city site, not a cemetery, so no sticky rice paste clay is normal. The seasoned soil we have now shows there was activity here a few hundred years ago. I looked at Xiaoxian and pointed to the ground. "Right here, dig down 1.5 meters. We started digging. Those tomb robbers from Urgent Sange can make a 1.5 meter pit in 8 minutes at top speed. We took half an hour. Xiaoxian was sweaty and tired. "There's nothing here?" She looked around. "What's wrong? Did the treasure show up?" Duyazi ran over, carrying a shovel. I stood in the pit and said, "Nothing just caught yet. Keep checking." As I spoke, I threw soil back into the pit. Clang! The shovel hit something hard. Damn, it's another rock. I thought it might be bronze, Duyazi said bitterly, seeing a stone sticking out. I kept digging, the shovel clanged against stone repeatedly. At that moment, Batu and Hulo came over. Bata said, make the pit bigger, get a better look. I nodded and dug a few more shovels. Finally, I saw clearly. It wasn't stone. It was a millstone. The millstone was tilted into the ground, more than 2 meters in diameter. I felt disappointed. No one wants a millstone, it's too heavy to move. Everyone's attention was on the millstone when Aji suddenly shouted, someone. Who's that? Everyone froze and looked in the direction he pointed. Several hundred meters away, a man was watching us. We saw each other clearly. The man had a dog, but from afar, we couldn't tell the gender or clothing. Duyazi shouted, and the man with the dog immediately turned and ran. We're done for, we've been spotted, Duyazi panicked. Isn't this supposed to be uninhabited? But there's clearly someone here. Hulo quickly said something, and Aji hurriedly translated. He said no one could live here, no water, no food, not even birds come. Batu's expression darkened, no guessing. Let's follow and see for ourselves. We'd let our guard down because the place seemed empty, but maybe the situation was bad, the risk of trouble was real. We followed the direction the man went, riding camels for 2 or 3 hours, but saw no sign of a person or a dog anywhere. Strange, this place is open land with no hills, rivers, or trees. How could a living person just vanish? Had we been mistaken? One person's eyesight could deceive them, but an entire group's couldn't. After careful thought, Bata said we couldn't keep doing this and must leave. We'd better sell the stuff first to lay low. Also, we were running low on water. This was our second failed attempt to find Heishui City in the Alxa Desert. The next morning, Hulo led us back. We passed the Hu tribe without stopping. A few of us headed straight back to Yinchuan with the goods. For safety, we switched hotels this time. Inside the hotel room. Fengzi, my right eyelid's been twitching for days. That's a bad omen, Duyazi said, face downcast. Don't say that. Maybe those were truly herders who saw us digging, but not necessarily knowing what we were up to. Even I didn't fully believe it. Xiaoxian propped her chin on her hand. I think we should buy and stash some water and food. Wait at least half a year before we come back out. I said, how are you going to live meanwhile? I can't stand that. Creak, the door suddenly opened, startling us. It was Batu. I breathed easier and asked, what now? Still dare to dig near Heishui City? Batu's face was calm. He nodded, yes, but not right away. Lay low for a while, watch the situation. What about selling the stuff this time? Bata thought a moment. We were going to contact buyers after returning, but I changed my mind yesterday. For safety, wait a week first. For over a week, we barely left our rooms. Curtains stayed closed all day. We sent someone out at night to buy food. There was a VCD player in the room. Duyazi and I spent our days lying on the sofa watching discs. We occasionally got scared someone might knock. After all, even mice fear cats by nature. After a week, things seemed quiet. We relaxed. The gear and goods were hidden under Bata's bed. We thought it was over. We sold the gear and divided the money, ready to move on. Unexpectedly, our team faced danger for the first time. This is segment 151 of 283, processed according to my logic. The original paragraph structure, line breaks, and overall layout are preserved, with translation crafted to suit American readers' habits. You can't walk by the river often without getting your shoes wet. The one who noticed the problem was the innkeeper's youngest daughter, a high school senior. Xiao Miao. The innkeeper's youngest daughter, Miao Yutong, a pseudonym, is 1 year younger than me and attending number 9 middle school on Zhongmu Alley in Xingqing District, Yinchuan City. That old number 9 school no longer exists. Our inn is 3 stories. The first floor is a supermarket run by the landlord. Xiao Miao often helps her dad at the supermarket after school. They sell cigarettes, alcohol, snacks, and also rent DVDs at Duya, and I loved watching Lam Chinging's zombie movies, so we saw Xiao Miao every night when buying cigarettes. She was reluctant to rent out new DVDs because she was afraid we'd break them, but Duya was quite talkative and made her laugh in just a few words. Duya called her sister Xiao Miao, and they quickly became close. She even started renting DVDs to him.